2. Good evening. The regular meeting, May 14th meeting is now called to order. It is 6 o'clock. I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting has been duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551-071, 072, 074, 082. The time is 6:01.
Using some hand sanitizer responsibly.
Why don't you? Good evening. Thank you for being here. The time is 7 o'clock, and we will now reconvene into open session. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion for all personnel recommendations.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Second. It's been moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Latham. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It is unanimous. The chair will now entertain a motion for Jeffrey Kosh be appointed as principal of Lewisville High School for the 2012 to 2013 school year.
So moved, Ms. Craig.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Latham, seconded by Mr. McDaniels. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Koch. Okay. Thank you. Now that we have sat, if he will have his family stand again and introduce your family. Thank you.
My wife Tara, this is my oldest son Brayden. He's going to be a sixth grader at Huffman next year. This is our middle son Ian. He's going to be a second grader at Valley Ridge next year. And this one here is turning around. He is 4 years old. So this is my baby.
Okay, if the committee that selected, made this selection, if you would please stand. That was a question?
Was saying the students that came to support Mr. Koch, if they wanted to take a picture with him right quick.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Quickly assemble on the steps,
y'all do
scooch
that.
together.
Who are, no, they're from Lewisville, who else here tonight?
Is this
I believe this is
Farmers,
student council and some of the
football.
football players.
Which one's which?
Okay. Yes.
Y'all scooch together for people in the front, hurry.
That's great.
We're skipping the day students, BASE.
Okay.
You want to call for the committee members to
Okay.
vote?
Now, if the hardworking committee members who made this selection would please stand.
Oh, you're out there.
Congratulations, and I know that they'll take good care of you, and you'll take good care of them. Thank you. Chair now entertains a motion for the next.
Ms. Craig, I move that Timothy Greenwell be appointed as principal at Liberty Elementary School for the 2012 and 2013 school year.
A second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Latham, seconded by Mrs. Foudy, that Mr. Timothy Greenwell be appointed as principal of Liberty Elementary School for the school year of 2012-2013. Mr. Greenwell, would you please?
You want to vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm excited. Parliamentary procedure went out the window right now. Last meeting. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? That is, it's unanimous. I didn't see Mr. McVan. You're too quick. Okay, it was unanimous. Now, Mr. Timothy Greenwell, would you please stand? Congratulations. And is your family, do you have a family here? If you will.
Miss Gregg, my family is all traveling right now. They're out of state, except for my brother who's running for Booster Club president at the softball team at Marcus High School.
Okay. Okay.
That's important. Many Greenwells like to move. But I do have my best friend Mark Sturman here with me. And I also have members of my new Liberty Elementary School family here. And I'd like to show my appreciation for those folks.
Good. Would the Liberty raise your hand, stand or wave at us if you're standing in the back? Stand. I saw them in the back there. Okay. If you would like to come up and take a picture.
Would all the Liberty staff
All
please join Mr. Greenwell on the stage for a photo?
Make it simple.
Mr. Greenwell, I saw that you were from Kansas City. I wanted to talk. I lived in Kansas City. I saw that and I said, oh, when you said out of town. Now, would the committee that made this selection please stand? Well, the whole committee? You did have the whole team? Okay. Thank you. I would just like to add that I attended the Flower Mound Evening with the Stars the other night, and Mr. Greenwell was recognized by several students for being a VIP. They had him for LEAP many, many years ago, but the students were able to recognize a favorite teacher in their life, and Mr. Greenwell was recommended several times, so congratulations for that. Those are truly the rewards of being in education. At this time, we are down to the awards, recognitions, and presentations. First, State Skills USA winners, Mr. Killingsworth.
Thank you, Dr. Waddell, President Gregg, members of the board, leadership team, and distinguished colleagues and guests. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you this evening a group of young people that have excelled in their craft of woodworking by each placing first place in their respective divisions in the State Skills USA contest in Corpus Christi, March 21 through 24. Before I introduce the 5 winners, I'd like to recognize their instructor, Mr. Joe Davis. We hired Mr. Davis 17 years ago to teach our beginning woodworking and welding classes at Dale Jackson Career Center. He taught under mentor teachers John Smith and Marty Rice that first year, and then took over as the mill and cabinet making teacher after Mr. Smith retired in 1996. Since that time, Mr. Davis and his gifted group of students have won the Best of Show trophy for the best project in the state contest in cabinet making, a mind-boggling 16 years in a row. Mr. Davis, would you please come forward so we can appreciate you? Now I'd like to introduce the students who constructed these beautiful projects that we have on display here. In alphabetical order, we first have Matt Damagala. Matt, if you'd come forward. Matt's a junior at Flower Mound High School, and he built this lovely coffee table over here, which was first place and best of show for our 16th consecutive time. Next, we have William Matthews. William is a sophomore at Flower Mound High School, and he built the poker table that's displayed over here that won first place and a blue ribbon. Next, we have Austin Nelson. Austin is a senior at Marcus High School, and he built the desk that you see along the wall to my left. His project also won first place and a blue ribbon. Next, we have Corey Rockefeller. Corey is a senior at Lewisville High School, and he made the big desk and gun cabinet that's up here on the front. Yes, it's got hidden panels on both ends that you can stow guns away on the gun rack there. And Corey's desk also won first place, and then he also won third place in the state on the technical information test. And last but certainly not least, Whitney Smith was unable to make it tonight. Whitney got called into work at the last minute, but Whitney is a senior at Marcus High School, and she crafted the audio cabinet that's over here on the end. And her project also won first place and a blue ribbon. And if any of these students' parents are in the audience tonight, would you please stand and be recognized? Ladies and gentlemen, your state first place winners in the 2012 Skills USA Cabinet Making Competition.
Mr. Killingsworth. I think one of the reasons that this program and many others at the Dale Jackson Career Center are so successful was because you put 29 years of your heart and soul into this district. And I wanted to take a minute to tell you thank you for all that you've done for the kids in Lewisville LISD. Thank you.
Okay. Next, the state swim winner, Mr. Mays.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg, Dr. Waddell, and board. We were blessed in athletics this year to not only have a state team champion, but a state individual champion. Dr. Wardell has explained on numerous occasions what state competition is like to our principals in our meetings the day after board meetings, just what it's like to be at anything that is state, whether it's state band marching, whether it's state tournament, whether it's state meet. And I feel blessed as athletic director that I got to see both of these state championships won. We will begin with the individual state champion and her coach. If Coach Jay Shagnon would come forward with his state champ. Coach Jay Shagnon from Hebron.
I'd like to introduce Caroline Korst. Extremely proud of Caroline. A lot of people don't know that swimmers, to get to this level, practice twice a day and on Saturdays. I am extremely proud of her. If she can't make it to her club practice, she makes it to high school practice and then some. Extremely proud of Caroline. And I'd like to let you know that at the state meet, while we were cheering her on, somebody almost pushed me in the pool. Thank you. She won the 100 backstroke. She also competed in the 100 butterfly. So she made it in 2 events. She's actually in the top 8. Last year she was in the consolation final at state. This year she was in top 8 both events. So we're extremely proud to watch her progress. She's a junior, so we're looking forward to watching it again next year.
Caroline's parents, are you here?
If you don't know how tough that is, we can just head over to the pool and you can race her.
And now, the Marcus High School State Basketball Team. Mr. Mays.
It's a great honor and with great pride and a great privilege to introduce not the one-time but the 2-time state champion Marcus basketball team and Coach Danny Henderson.
We really appreciate the board having us here tonight. We have a couple of players missing tonight with other obligations, and one spent about 3 hours in a dentist chair this afternoon. It's not here, but I'd like to introduce Michael Wheeler. If you'd step forward when I introduce you. Nick Banyard, Jordan Johnson, Jacob Van Natten, Matt Ledford, John Malone, A.J. Lucky, and the best student trainer in the world, Ellie Dinkmeyer. I can't tell you how proud I am of these guys. This has basically been a 3-year team. And in those 3 years, their sophomore year, they went 37-3 and made it to the state semifinal game. Their junior year, they went 39-1 and won the state championship. And then this year, they went 39-2 and won the state championship again for a 3-year record of 115 wins and 6 losses.
Isn't it?
I can tell you as well that these guys are as good at kids as they are basketball players. And also, probably it's been my experience that the most difficult thing to do in high school athletics is to defend a a state championship. And I've been fortunate enough to do that twice. And with this group, it was even tougher because so much attention was drawn to them this year. And it's so incredibly difficult and pressurized because these guys knew that as far as the community was concerned and the school was concerned, the only thing that was acceptable to become to be a successful season was nothing less than a state championship. And it's just an enormous amount of pressure. And these guys handled it with more than flying colors, and they withstood that and were able to defend their state championship. And I just couldn't be more proud of a group of guys. I believe 7 of them are going on to play college basketball. And I'm going to brag on one in particular, Jacob Van Natten, if you raise your hand again. Jacob not only is going to play basketball next year for the University of Texas at Dallas, but he also went through a grueling interview process here recently for a McDermott scholarship, which I didn't know anything about a McDermott scholarship. But he came to me before the area basketball game. He said, "Coach, I'm going to have to miss the playoff game." And I couldn't believe what he was saying. And I said, "You're kidding me?" And he said, "Well, I've got to spend all weekend going through the interview process for this McDermott scholarship." And I was thinking $1,500, $2,000, and I was about ready to say, "No, well, hold on, let's think about this. Can we rearrange?" And I said, "How much is this worth?" And he said, $200,000.
Yes, yeah.
And Jacob won it. So. So when he told me that, I said, "I wouldn't dare let you come to this playoff game. You go win that scholarship," and he did. But thank you very much, and on behalf of the Marcus basketball, thank you.
Would the parents stand up? I know you're very proud. Congratulations and good luck.
As they're walking off, let me say this. 3 times in the history of Texas 5A basketball has there been a back-to-back champion. 3 times in the whole history of Texas basketball. That's one of the greatest basketball teams to ever play in the state of Texas. This is a unique experience for all of us. So,
Exactly.
congratulations again. And they are great young men and women. I'll tell you what, Coach, I have to say this. You're talking about your trainer, the greatest trainer in Texas. One thing I remember, it wasn't this year, it was last year at the state meet. There she is. She's coming around. Y'all take a look at her. I was sitting right there in the corner where they get us seats when your team is in the state championship, and we need to keep going because I like those seats. But it was a hotly contested game. It was a crazy game. It was like 2 games last year, and it was really tense. I think in the final minute or 2 minutes of the game, and it's just, I had hair right before the game. I lost most of it in that one. She needed to get something. It was critical, and she's sitting there at the end of the bench. She did a leap, just straight up and over that chair. She didn't climb over it. She just jumped straight over the top of the chair, got what she needed, and jumped straight over back. Thought she's one of the best athletes on the floor.
Coach Henderson, before you all leave, I would just like to congratulate you also and to tell you and the team that what impressed me more than you just winning the games, the attitude that you took. Every article that I read, it did not seem that anyone had the big head. Everyone was always focusing on the team. And together, everyone achieves more, and you did it. So congratulations and continued success. Persons desiring to, we are now down to the open. Okay, we'll take. Okay. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. I only have one card, Melissa Powers.
So I have my 3 minutes. I just wanted to bring up the topic of the staffing model, and as you guys go forward with your strategic planning, that you revisit what has been put in place so far. I remember when this board began to talk about the cuts that needed to happen due to the economy and the things that were going on, one of the things I heard quite often was to cut in places that had the least impact to the student bodies. And I think that as you look at what's going on with the counselor situation, and especially in the middle schools, when you go from 2 to 1.5, and in 13, 14, and some of the schools when you go to 1, that is definitely hitting the front lines and the students. I think that there was some discussion about the need and determining who got 2 versus 1.5 versus 1 based on need. And I'm not sure how that need was decided, but my experience with middle school students, and I'm not an educator, but I live with them and work with them just in a personal level, is that adolescence is the great equalizer. And it doesn't matter what socioeconomic background you come from, what language you speak, or what is spoken in your house. Adolescence equals all of that. And what I see is that there are more state-mandated programs that deal with the problems that our adolescents need with bullying and cyberbullying and alcohol and drugs, and with the economy, you've got parents that are divorcing more frequently. I mean, it's equal across all schools. And so I think that if you look at need and you look at the mandates, it's not being mandated for the people who have the most counselors, it's equal across all. If you look at the adolescents and the problems that adolescents face, it's equal across all. I would also say that my heart is near and dear to Creek Valley Middle School, because that's where my 5th grader will go next year. And for the first time, that school is not exemplary, it's acceptable, and it's going to be one of the hardest hit schools. And if that's not a school in need, I don't know what is. That particular school has seen deaths with fathers and brothers, and those counselors have helped hold the teachers as well as the students together there and at the elementary school. So I know that there are 5 new positions in the central office that have been posted that start at a minimum of $75,000 and maybe $74,000 and change. If you do the math, that's about $375,000. For $100,000, we could get 2 more counselors, and every middle school in the district would have 2 counselors. Seems like a pretty good fair trade to me if we're looking at where we're going to impact the students the most and not cutting where it hurts the most. So with about 8 seconds to live, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order, Ms. Gregg, maybe we could just pause for about 30 seconds if anybody wants to leave.
Before, just as a point of information on that, which we're able to do in these, the reference positions in the administration, actually, that's not additional money being spent. So I just want to be clear on that. No, those are jobs that are already here or that have been reconfigured, so there's no additional monies being spent.
Ms. Gregg, I would just suggest maybe we pause the meeting for about 30 seconds if anybody wants to leave. Our feelings won't be hurt. I see a lot of students in there. We will not be hurt if you leave.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you. Okay, we're now down to the public hearing concerning the optional flexible school day program. Dr. Riddell.
Members of the board, Dr. Waddell, Dr. Charles Frigé is going to make a presentation on this optional flexible school day program for you. And this is a public hearing.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Waddell, Mrs. Gregg. I've been up here before, and that's still awful hard to say, optional flexible school day program. The state allows us to apply for to receive average daily attendance for school programs outside of regular school hours. One of the requirements is to have a public hearing, and that's what we're doing tonight. And then at the June meeting, we'll request board approval to submit that application. One of the things that we're required to do is present a report on the performance of our program. And so I'm going to go through that fairly quickly. It's on the PowerPoint overhead projector there, and I'm not going to read every word on it, but please stop me if you have questions. As I said before, the idea of the program is to provide flexible school hours, interventions to 9th to 12th grade students for successful course completion, high school graduation, transition to post-secondary education or careers. And there's really three main components of this program, which takes place at the Lewisville Learning Center in the Knight High School. The first is the Dropout Recovery Program, which has been funded the last 2.5 years by a Texas Education Agency grant. And we've been lucky enough to have a part of that program continued for 2012-13 through an additional supplemental grant where we can receive or earn funds through having students meet benchmarks like moving to a different grade level, passing the state assessments, or graduating. So we can earn additional monies for this program next year for that component. The optional flexible school day program is intended to fund programs for at-risk students, which does actually include students that have already dropped out. And then we have an accelerated program that's funded through high school allotment and local funds. The program's offered Monday through Thursday, 4:10 p.m. to 8:50 p.m., and then they have makeup and other services available on Fridays. This is the same curriculum as the comprehensive high schools, but the instructional approaches vary. The program includes credit recovery, dual enrollment for college credit. And as I said before, students that are considered at risk by Texas Education Agency criteria are eligible to participate in the program for the average daily attendance. The program is taught by highly qualified teachers. Attendance is recorded and reported separately through the district information system. The students still must take state assessments and pass in order to graduate. These are the objectives that we set for the program last year when we presented at this meeting. By June 2012, at least 200 at-risk 9th and 12th grade students would participate. The students participating during 2011-12 would complete requirements for 400 course credits, and by June 2012, at least 50 students participating in the program would graduate. Some of the strategies we've used is offering credit recovery, credit acquisition, assistance with the state assessments. I shouldn't say tax anymore. We use a flexible schedule model to increase opportunities for students to complete their coursework. Individual tutoring, access to a certified counselor, case management approach. I would say that's one of the strongest components of the program is the small class sizes and the strong case management approach. These students really do get a lot of one-to-one assistance through the program. And I might just brag a little bit. I believe the principal of the program, Mr. Lewis, is secondary principal of the year this year. Yay. This is how the program did this year. I should caution, since we're meeting in May, the year isn't complete, so there will be some additional numbers to go in these boxes. And in fact, Mr. Lewis sent me some cheat sheets here, so I'll try and just fill in a little bit as we go. We've served 394 students so far this year. The goal is to serve 200, so we've exceeded that number. 70 of those were dropout students. This is the course enrollment, and I'm really not going to try to go over all of those. But as you can see, we had quite a number of students in quite a number of classes that were offered on an as-needed basis. The goal was to earn 500 credits this school year. So far, there have been 524 credits earned, so we've exceeded that goal as of May. 96 of those were dropouts, 255 at risk, 173 accelerated students. Number of students graduating, we're still shy of our goal of 50, or objective of 50 graduates, 19 dropouts, 15 at-risk students, 12 accelerated students, but Mr. Lewis has indicated to me that if these students stay on course, we should have about 13 more graduates by the end of the year. So I'm confident we'll reach our objective for this year. This is a report just on the number of dropouts that enrolled solely due to having failed the state assessments, and how many went on to successfully pass the state assessment and graduate, which was 9 and 7. So almost all of those students were able to, and some of these are students that have taken the state assessments many times. And it takes something to build a fire under those students to convince them to try that again, and they did. And I know you all have attended some of the graduations, so I appreciate that. Number of students, or number of dropouts that moved up to the next grade level through accruing enough credits was 22 so far this year. Not every student has made it. We had about 10% of the students that re-enroll that have dropped back out again, unfortunately. But for students with a history of having struggled academically, that's a fairly strong showing. We'd rather have that number be 0, but they've done well. And this is just a quick summary of the number of social service contacts made during the year through the program. We do have some objectives that we set for 2012-2013. We've tried to be ambitious but reasonable on those objectives. This year we're shooting for 350 at-risk students, not counting accelerated students, to participate in the program, earning 500 course credits, with 75 at-risk students graduating. That's my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful program.
Dr. Jay, I have a question for you. First, I think it's a wonderful program, and thank you for what you do with it. The night school that's being held at the Lewisville Learning Center.
Yes, sir.
Have we had any discussion about offering a night school on the east side of the district as well?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer, but I'll defer to Dr. Rogers and Dr. Riddell.
Mr. McDaniel, we haven't. Basically, when we started the program, there were 3 funding sources, as it talked about. The OFSDP money, which is what Dr. Fouché is talking about, high school allotment money, which is going away, and of course local funds. And so at that time, when we created the program 3.5 years ago, we already had a similar type program at our learning center for acceleration for at-risk kids, and so it sort of made sense to try to do it at that one site. Certainly there are issues with transportation that some of our students face, but we're just sort of hanging on, wanting to keep the program, because funds are getting tight, but it's certainly, as you can see, very successful and serves an important niche of our students.
Thank you. Since this is a public hearing, if there's anyone here who would like to have comments, questions, or anything? Hearing none. Any other questions, board members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we're down to the TASB Board Policy, Local Student Directorate. Dr. Haynes?
Thank you, Madam President. Karen Permetti, our Public Information Officer, will be presenting this item.
Good evening, Madam President and the board. Tonight's agenda item is to share with you a recommendation to modify our current student directory policy, and we worked with TASB to make this modification. Under our current student policy, any parent that checked off on the media release form that it was okay to release their information, a third party could file an open records request and receive that information. And as you can see under current policy, it's a lot, including addresses and phone numbers. And we think this is a security safety issue for our students. So the recommendation that we're proposing is to modify that policy and limit it. And we've put it in two parts. The first part of the directory information would be where the district manages that information, either through my office or the campus, and dealing with promotions, news releases, newsletters, working with the PTA for parent newsletters, that kind of thing. So the first part is under what you would call district control. The second part would be what that third party would request. And we crafted in such a way if a television station or a newspaper wanted awards regarding, let's say, all the names of the Marcus High School state championship team, we can provide that for them. So we try to leave it where we could work with other entities, but most importantly, if you had a marketer, for instance, file an open records request, they would not get addresses and phone numbers and birth dates of students. So it helps to protect their identities, and this is our recommendation, and I know we'll go next month for a discussion item. And also one more item is that most of the surrounding school districts and districts throughout the state are looking at their student directory policy and following something very similar because they have the exact same concerns that we do.
Have any questions? Okay.
Ms. Permetti, I have a question. On school-sponsored purposes, it states that the student's name, their address, but it does not include telephone numbers. Does that mean that our directories that go out to the children at their schools will not have telephone numbers as well?
Well, that's usually handled through the PTA, and it's through their membership. So if they check that off, they handle that part. The campus directories usually fall under the PTA does those directories, but any campus. First part is really under district control, so we have access to those student phone numbers. So for instance, if I'm going to do a story on a particular student, I can contact that parent and say, we're going to do a story, it's about your child, will you be okay if your student was interviewed? So under that first area, we have that control because it's through our database, and we're the ones making the contact to the parents.
But if the policy doesn't read that we can give that phone number out even to the PTA directory, will that not preclude them from putting that in?
No, sir. They do their own directory forms. So when the parent signs up to be the PTA, they pay their money and they fill out the form of what they want in that directory. So the PTA manages and facilitates that.
So it's only PTA members that can be in the campus directory? Okay.
And they are the only ones that get the directory because it's a private a private club, so they only hand it out to members. They don't hand it out to everybody, so you have to be a member in order to get it. Whether or not the member does something else with it, that's not our issue, but that's the way that works. So if I'm not a PTA member, my kids aren't going to be in there. So that's
So our low-income areas, the parents aren't and can't afford to be in the PTA, just or do without?
Well, every PTA handles that on their own, so I can't really answer that question for you, how that is working on those campuses. I can find out for you and get back with you.
Thank you. Next, we have a bond report and new construction report. Dr. Burnett.
This is your monthly new construction report and your monthly bond report. I think the bond report is from the end of March 2012.
Did I skip something?
That's okay.
Okay, is that it? Dr. Haynes, looks like I skipped, I checked it off as TASB Local Update 93.
Yes, ma'am, you are correct. This is the discussion item this month for Update 93. This is the second of two post-legislative updates. The first one is FFB Legal, and that addresses the early mental health intervention and suicide prevention programs. The second one under discussion tonight is FFI Legal, which addresses bullying materials, which becomes effective for the 2012-13 school year. And Dr. Rogers is here to give you a more detailed analysis as to what these two policies entail.
Thank you, Dr. Haynes. TASB Update 93 talks about FFH Local, which deals with freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. What they've done is then connected that to FFI Local, which is Student Welfare, Freedom from Bullying, basically giving us a lot of small changes, things, for instance, that in the past, if an employee was informed of possible harassment or bullying, then they had to investigate. Now, if the wording changed to suspect harassment or bullying, then it's required by the employee to check into it. That's one major change. Certainly attached to the bullying, FFI Local is something that also connects to FDB Local, which talks about transfers. A victim may ask to be transferred, and we're required to do that if it's found that they were bullied, or the perpetrator of the bullying may be transferred by administration. So those are some of the changes in the policies that we've got to make. We have been working on that to make sure that our student code of conduct is in compliance with the changes of TASB Update 93. The last thing that's not a major change is FFB Legal, which Gail Ladehoff with counseling has been looking over. We have been working, her and Regina Bennett of Safe and Drug-Free Schools has been working to make sure that we look at pre-K through 12, a coordinated program for bullying, mental health, so on, that we can then make sure that we are not only in compliance but training our teachers and making sure that we do the appropriate type of education for all levels of students. So those are some of the changes that are coming down the pike due to Update 93.
Thank you. I had asked about that, and I saw that we had something that the counselors were using, but I wondered if it was used widely throughout the district. But it is definitely something that needs to be done. And also, I had printed this off when I read it because with all of the problems that we're having, I was concerned, and I mentioned it last month, with the staffing model on cutting the counselors, because I'm really concerned. We have bigger problems than many people think. They're hidden a lot of times. And with unemployment, huge unemployment, homelessness, so many other problems that the kids are having now, I'm concerned that I hope that the board will take a good look at dealing with making sure that counselors are, we have enough, because all of this is addressed in this, and this takes counselors well-trained. So, any other? Now.
Dr. Rogers, just a quick question. If my child is the child doing the bullying and it's determined that he should be transferred, at what level will that decision be made? Is that a campus level decision? If I offer any pushback, what's the process? Is there meet with this?
Mr. Ellington, do you know the answer to that question as far as what the policy? We're waiting on some clarification on some of the, semantics of it, but do you know? It would seem, you know, apparent that since all other transfers are handled through student services, that's probably the process that we would follow, is to go through the principal and Mr. Ellington first.
Any other questions?
I have one. So while you're working out the details of transferring the perpetrator, I want to make sure that we're not on the hook for transferring little Johnny or little Sally. Transporting, I'm sorry, getting him to and from school.
No, ma'am, we would not be responsible for transportation. And these policies, I forgot to mention, I apologize. These policies, neither of the two policies, FFH and FFI, go into effect until the start of this next school year. So I'm sure we'll be getting a little more clarification from TEA before we start.
Anything else? Thank you. Next, we have the Marcus and Flower Mound ninth grade center schematic design. Dr. Burnett?
We have representatives from PBK who will come forward and give a brief presentation about where we are on the schematic design with our ninth grade centers at Marcus High School and at Flower Mound High School.
We're very excited to be here today to present to you the schematic design for the new ninth grade campuses at Marcus and Flower Mound. We've been, over the last few months, very excited and have enjoyed greatly working with staff, parents, students, and community members at each one of these campuses to design these ninth grade centers. As you know, we started the design of these buildings with design charrettes, where we had participation of a large group of members that came and voiced their opinions and gave us input on how to design these buildings so that they would be best serving the students in the district.
Excuse me just a minute. Don't we have some of those design charrette committee members here tonight? If those from Marcus, would they please stand? And those from Flower Mound, would they please stand as well? On the Flower Mound committee. Do we have any from Flower Mound? Thank you.
We kicked off the charrette with Milton Chen, who came and spoke to the group about the future of learning, the age of technology, and how the environment does impact learning. We also followed that with the fact that we had asked students to, prior to the charrette, send us photographs of the places in the buildings where they thought they learned best. And they gave us plenty of ideas of some of the best places for learning. We used both Milton Chen's advice, your strategic design initiative, and the comments from the students to begin our design of these centers. I keep using the wrong one. Here we go. So we'll start with Marcus. What we have here is the site plan for the ninth grade center at Marcus. And as we reported about a month ago when we were here to talk about the possibility of putting these on site, we explored including the new ninth grade campus directly west of the existing high school, tying into the area where the 3 gymnasia are in the campus. Just to orient you, here's Morris is down at the bottom, and you have your stadium at the corner of the site. Currently, you have parking that flanks the high school on the back and along the road on the left of on the right of the school. The design included in this site plan shows that we would have a separate drop-off visitor parking area to be used by the ninth grade campus itself. The ninth grade campus would be a standalone building, but it would be joined by a hallway to the existing building. But it would have its own main entry and its own identity, so as people come in, they'd be able to identify that that is a separate campus from the high school. As part of our locating the building here, we are showing that we need to relocate the tennis courts and the softball field, as well as the indoor practice facility. The tennis courts and the softball fields have been relocated off-site to the Dixon property, and I'll show that in a minute, whereas the indoor practice facility has been relocated on-site at the end of the football stadium. Some of the considerations that we really kept our mind to when we were designing this building, it was making sure that we were staying as far distant from the houses in the back of the property as possible. And there's a main drive that goes across the campus, and we use that as our main delineator to stay away from this area of the building. Also, we had several of the neighbors came to visit, and they provided us with great insight and input into some of the circulation and some of the access issues, but we were able to incorporate that into the design. This is a drawing of the Dixon property, where you currently have your baseball field and your track and a football field. And we're showing that we would take the existing road and extend it, provide new parking, provide the tennis courts, the new softball field, as well as lockers and dressing rooms, restroom facilities, and concession. And I'll let Richard talk about the plan.
Let's take a look at the conceptual floor plan. And the first one we're going to show you will be the first floor plan. As Irene mentioned, that there are several very important aspects of the ideas that came from Design Charrette from the committee. One thing that was very important, as Irene mentioned, was a clear sense of entrance. So you see the main entrance to the ninth grade center will be located here. And the big idea here is this sort of a serpentine hallway, what we're calling this the learning hub. And so this is sort of the nerve center of the building, where this becomes the media center, the library, as well as the commons to serve the students. What's also very important is how the ninth grade center connects back to the existing high school. The idea here is to create this very clear sense of circulation. As you see that this is the existing hallway that we actually renovated the existing athletic PE area to really create this strong sense of access to the new building. And as you enter the building, we have administration near the front of the building, and this will lead you to a two-story academic classroom buildings that we're calling this the learning studio. And as you approach to the learning hub, just imagine the outdoor space open into this main hallway. And along the hallway, we'll have the large group instruction, art classrooms, as well as this two-story science lab, science classrooms, with the kitchen towards the back. At the end of the learning hub here will be the entrance to the bus, close to the bus drop-off towards the end of the space here.
One of the things that was important and it came up during this shred was the fact that when we finished, we wanted the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts. So instead of continuing to add to the building in different locations, so we were going to do something that hopefully, when we left the campus a little bit better than it was. One of the main concerns at Marcus is the circulation within the building. If you've been to Marcus, you know that it's circular and you continue to go around. And we understand that the ninth graders will be going across the building to go to some of their electives, whether it be athletics or whether it be fine arts, music, drama at the other end of the building. So the reasoning for renovating this corridor is to clean up the circulation going through there so students would be able to go quickly and directly into the main building. As part of the charrette, there was a master plan that shows possible renovations within the building to continue that main street. If the district desires to do that, we just, again, wanted to take a 30,000-foot view of the building and make sure that what we did was not put in a place that later it would create problems for the district. So that's what that shows here, and that's why on the other end of the building, next to the auditorium, we're showing the music edition, and this would actually be a drama edition. It's a black box theater, as well as the supporting scene shop and restrooms for that program.
Okay, just very quickly, second floor, as I mentioned, you have the classroom, the learning studio, identical to the first floor. And towards the back will be the two-story science labs and classrooms. Okay, won't spend a whole lot of time on the detail here, but just a few things to point out. This is the main entrance to the building. Once you enter the building, the idea is to create the secure vestibule. So visitors will have to come in and check in at the front receptionist before entering the building. And as I mentioned, towards the front, this is where the main administration with principal's office and conference rooms, attendance and registrar. And so as you approach, as you enter the building towards the left would be that first learning studio classrooms on the first floor, along with collaboration area on the first floor with large classrooms. And each learning studio will have its own administration, AP, and counselor all near each entrance to each learning studio.
And part of the concept of how it was organized is breaking the building in what we call small learning communities, and each one with a principal, assistant principal, and counselor. So there's some important relationships for those students with their counselors, and they can find them immediately at each one of the studios. The other thing is that we're looking at the hallways as a little bit different. Rather than they just being circulation, it allows for the creation of small areas for small group instruction or for individual learning or for groups of 2, 5, 10 students to work together. So rather than using hallways just for circulation, using the hallways for more than that. And that's why the size of the main hallway or the learning hub going through, it looks larger than your traditional 8-foot hallway that you would find at a school building.
So
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right now what we're showing is that, yes, the library and cafeteria, or with this learning hub in the center of the building, would traverse. And typically you would have your hallways that go next to those spaces. And what we've done is incorporated a little bit into that. And as we continue to refine this space, we're going to refine this to have areas where students can eat that is a little bit less formal than the institutional cafeteria. And the library would also have areas for students to work together, for classes to meet, plenty of technology. So it's a very technology-rich environment to allow the students to come in here and participate. So your comment about it being open on both ends, it's correct. But as we come back for design development, you're going to see us continue to refine that space, and some of the spaces themselves within it will start showing up. Absolutely, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then Richard talked about that we have science labs at the other end. Each one of the areas has 2 science labs with science classrooms that will work through that. And then we have some other programs throughout the building, such as art. We have an art classroom. We have a lecture hall where they can have 2, 3 classes together at a time if you have a distance learning opportunity or just a teaming opportunity. And then family consumer science as well. Second floor is identical to the first floor, so you'll have the same as far as classrooms on the first and second floor, and the same when it comes to science labs with some additional special education spaces like a diagnostician's office and an art conference room.
With the cyber area that you're talking about, it says open to below. How is the sound going to be contained? Because when you get that many kids in one area, is that going to be noise reduction things in there?
No, we'll be doing some acoustical baffles, acoustical deck, and then we'll have the opportunity to bring some of it down as well. Acoustics throughout the building is going to be enhanced because we're also looking at the possibility of some of these classrooms opening up to be a little bit more flexible, but we know that acoustics we'll have to treat differently to make sure that we haven't created that kind of problem.
Yeah, because when you add in people eating and talking and studying, it just...
Yeah. We envisioned a little bit more like a Barnes & Noble, where there's opportunities to eat and opportunities to read, but you don't have necessarily the noise level. So, but that is a great concern, and it's something that we're keeping in the forefront. Okay. And then we're providing a gym in the back of the campus with associated locker spaces for basketball and volleyball.
How many total gyms will they have when this is done?
This will end up with 4 gymnasiums at the high school.
Is that needed space or?
I believe Hebron has a 9th grade center with 2 gyms, so
Yes.
that's 4 gyms total for Hebron, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I'd like to comment, if I may, on the design of the library. As a former librarian, it makes me desire to go back and be in a library media center again. What you've designed seems to be exactly what Dr. Lurcher, I'm sure you probably looked at some of the literature. I know the librarians have been reading it, has been talking about learning commons, and that libraries have to transform if they want to stay relevant. And it's so exciting to see that we're moving in that direction, and we'll be in the forefront of that movement because it's just starting to take off nationally. And the design of that area looks like it would be an incredibly appealing place where kids and staff would want to take on learning as much as possible. So kudos to the design of the library. Looks great.
Thank you. Well, I pointed out that we received photographs from students, and several of them had environments like Starbucks and Barnes & Noble. We received very few pictures of classrooms when we asked them about places where they learn.
I have a question about the gym, if we can go back to that slide. Is this a gym, or is this another coliseum?
It's a gym, but the seating is configured all four sides, so it could be considered a coliseum.
So this is another one like what was just built at Lewisville?
Yes.
And I'm going to go back to Jeff's question. And our need there is?
The concern that was raised during the charrette is, again, there were two gyms at Hebron, and the true need for two gyms and using that space and providing something more usable. The folks at Marcus felt that when they have competitions, and I believe this year they had to go to Lewisville to when they had the big activities, and they felt that this would serve them better. It would also, again, going back to the full master plan and organizing the lockers better and creating a better environment for the students. So that's what led to the inclusion of this in the program.
The ninth graders, my concern was more, I think Carol answered it, but the gyms that the ninth graders would be using, they don't have to travel through the main building to get.
No.
I'm not that familiar with, I've been in all the gyms, but I just can't, I always go in the wrong door and end up walking the campus.
I think part of the renovation is, as we've shown, the ninth graders would use the first gym, and they would have, the PE lockers would be directly located right next to it. So again, it would be, the ninth graders would be able to just go right into the building and step right back out.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at your pointer.
No, sorry. It would be the first gym, again, with the, you would have the PE lockers directly adjacent to them, so they can use one of these two gyms without having to use the other ones. Yeah.
I have a concern, I guess, more directed to the administration. You know, when we passed these bonds and we talked about a ninth grade centers, I'm for the ninth grade centers, but I don't think there was ever a mention of a new gymnasium, moving the indoor practice building so that we can have a green area there, or performing arts edition. Where did all this come in?
It developed in the charrette. There are several questions there. I think on performing arts, they were going, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but originally the thought was to build performing arts in the ninth grade center. But, you know, since the kids are in the bands anyway, the thought was, why build them there when most of the work's over there in the fine arts area on the other side? So what they would need, just put it over there. So rather than build performing arts and have two separate performing arts area, to combine it. There was originally the thought of performing arts spaces in the ninth grade center. So I felt it was just more efficient to put it over there where the performing arts and the teachers already were. On the gym, and it was originally we were going to have a gym there, two gyms, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the ninth grade center, just like Hebron had in the ninth grade center. But felt like it's just better use of the space, and it came inside the budget to create this gym that would serve the two gyms. And Mr. Rogers, help me a little bit if I get off track here. The two gyms were not used as well as they really needed one, and this would serve the whole high school campus better to do it this way. It would just be a better use of the spaces and the money. I think we looked at the Hebron ninth grade as how they were using their gyms, and they just wasn't as good a use of the two gyms. Thought the one would be better, and by making it a competition gym, it could serve more than just one purpose, more than just being a PE facility. The indoor practice facility needed to be moved because of where things were going to accommodate this. The ninth grade center is being built over that, so it had to be relocated. And we said we would just go space for space in terms of that, but it was going to have to go based on where the new facility is located.
Where are we going to be as far as capacity on the ninth grade center?
We're
once
de-
it's completed?
Yeah, we're designing this ninth grade center to be about 1,050 students.
And we're short of that going in when we open up. Room for growth, I guess, is built into the equation.
If I remember about the black box theater, when we opened the Lewisville centers, I remember them getting the black box theater and them all being very excited about that. And so I think it was perceived that when the Flower Mound and Marcus get their ninth grade center, they'd also have a black box because the theater people really were hot on that. They just loved that. So I remember that's probably why, I guess it does make sense putting it over with the other stuff where all the changing and everything is, and so that it's just better suited over there. So
Yeah. From a staffing perspective, it's easier to keep the staff at the one location rather than have to duplicate staff and bring to the other end of the building.
So if I understand correctly, a lot of these modifications came about because the ninth grade center is going to be attached to the main campus.
Yes.
All right. All right, let's take a look at the exterior of the building. And the image we're trying to capture here is that sense of progressiveness. And I know that during the design charrette, there are a lot of comments about what can we do to tie in with some of the existing elements. I know the group feels strongly about these vertical colonnades that you see at the front of the entrance to Marcus High School. So the idea is to, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the idea is to pick up these vertical columns and introduce that throughout the entire building. And at the same time, pick up the same color of material and apply to some of the important part of the main building. And as you see here, this is the serpentine element that we talked about. And this is the most important element that we really want to express. So you see it from the main entrance as well as the entire building. At the main entry, we have the one-story administration office area. And this is the existing entrance to the gym. The new gym will be towards the back, and this will be the two-story classrooms with windows. We talked about the importance of natural daylighting in all the classrooms, so you see that throughout the entire building. And this is a close-up shot of what the main entrance can look like. As I mentioned, you arrive at the drop-off at the front of the building, and you can walk up to this the main entrance to the ninth grade campus with office on one side and two-story classrooms flanking it.
Again, we can move to Flower Mound, and again, we had our design charrette on April 10 and 12, even though the folks from Flower Mound also participated in the discussion from Milton Chen when we kicked off the charrettes. I'll show you the site plan. At Flower Mound, when we started at Flower Mound, we looked at different options of where to site this building and where it made most sense, and again, looking at the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. And there were different places on sites that we tried to locate the building, like at the bottom right-hand corner, and the bottom left-hand corner. So we looked at different options, but ran into pretty expensive obstacles in doing that. For example, there's a major drainage ditch that goes at the bottom right-hand corner of the site, and putting our building there would create incredible problems and an incredible cost to overcome. So we looked at other options, and understanding again how students are going to be traveling back and forth from the ninth grade center to the building, we found that the location where the current parking area is seemed to be the best fit and the best planned spot for it. So we're showing that the new ninth grade center goes to the upper left-hand corner of the site. We'll be providing new visitor parking and a drop-off at this end as well. What this is showing, your current softball field will need to be relocated in order for us to provide parking over here. So that's what we've shown, and we're showing the possibility of relocating that to another off-site location. We would take the practice fields and slide them down to this location. We're adding parking throughout the buildings or to the site so that we make sure that we provide as much parking as is needed by the city and that as is needed by the campus. Some of the things to point out, we're showing currently the possibility of relocating your tennis courts at Flower Mound as you travel throughout the day. If you stand at any point in the day and see the students traveling from the main parking lot to the building, they have to traverse, they walk on the track, or they cut through the back area, which is very complicated and kind of convoluted as you're making your way because of the layout of the tennis courts currently. So we're showing that as a part of this master plan, you could relocate those tennis courts and possibly create a nice pedestrian walk that could bring people from the majority of the parking area, students during the day, parents or in activities after hours, all the way to the campus. We also are working and are the same way that we had this concern at Marcus with the location of the houses in relationship to the building. We are going to be working to keep our building as far away from the property line as possible. Right now we're showing somewhere about 60 feet, but it's our goal. We plan to relocate this building and make it about 100 to 120 feet as soon as we get that survey. So again, trying to get our building as far away from the backyards as possible. We have a new service drive that would service the kitchen and the ninth grade center kitchen as well. And we've kept the drive coming down all the way through, so for after-hours events, again, giving you as much access in and out of the facility as possible so that circulation is not greatly affected. This is, yes?
Can we talk traffic flow for a minute?
Sure.
I know that's an issue today with that, and I don't know if in building this there's any way. What's your expectation for traffic flow for the ninth grade center drop-off?
Well, we expect the ninth grade. Most of the students that get dropped off here are ninth graders, so that drop-off would move over to this new area. Obviously, still working off of Peters Colony Road, and other than Peters Colony, Old Settlers, we're a little limited. We've always said the best site for a high school has 4 roads around it, if not 3. So we have 2. So we're trying to separate parents as much as possible. And as you can see, we created a really large stacking area versus what you currently have. You have a very limited stacking area at the front of the campus right now. We've more than tripled that area, so hopefully cars will be moving off of Peters Colony quicker and into the property, so that alleviating a little bit of the traffic concern at Peters Colony. In this case, we're showing also that the buses will remain where they are, but we're given the possibility, so if buses need to go back here or somewhere else, you will have the access to relocate administratively the buses wherever the campus sees that it would work better for them. Also, in providing this drive, if the campus does feel that it's better to drop off students and make the large loop and go back out, that we'll have that possibility as well. So again, we're trying to bring as many drives into the site to get people off of the roads as quickly as possible.
Okay, because, of course, where would the band be practicing? That's what I want to know.
The band would be practicing. Right now we're showing that it could practice here, or we're looking at seeing if there's any options for a smaller band practice area here, but we're...
This is a Texas band, right?
I know.
I understand
We're
that.
providing... yeah, that would be for just like one part of the band.
Yeah, that's the tuba section there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're providing a hallway coming from here. You have your band hall is over here coming down this way, providing them with large access and a docking area so they can bring the band bus and drop off and then continue down here to this location.
And just saying that I know that, because I am a parent here at Flower Mound, I have my kids ride the bus. I don't even go near it, to tell you the truth, because of just the traffic issues there. I'm not really quite sure how well it's going to be perceived by the parents. It's a long ride there. I know most of the ninth grade parents are the ones, because that was the whole thing about getting the ninth grade centers to get those ninth grade parents off the site. Well, they're ninth graders, but and that's we do have buses, but some of them don't like using them. But the traffic along Peters Colony, and that's one of the biggest issues there, especially on a rainy day. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not sure that we have to make sure the parents are well informed. I mean, it just seems so far away, the parking there where you'd be dropping them off, than what they had before, because actually the main entry there, nobody's allowed to drop their kids off there. They have to go around to the back.
Yeah, they drop off there.
Yeah, but also we have parents that also, and I call it the lower parking lot there, the senior parking lot, because that's where the seniors used to park. So I know a lot of parents do. So that is, and they do cut through, because my daughter parks over there. So.
And Ms. Kyer, we will be conducting a traffic study. We'll be hiring somebody to do that to help us out and to make sure that we're able to do that. And We understand we've sat out there in the mornings.
It's
We've been
immense.
stuck in Peters Colony,
Yeah.
gotten late to meetings. So we understand a little bit of the traffic, but because of that, we're definitely going to hire somebody to do a traffic study,
Okay.
a third-party traffic study to help us out.
Oh, good, because that really just, I know a lot of parents or a lot of the students were, when they thought about getting the ninth graders off site, was the whole thing to get rid of a lot of the traffic, because the traffic coming in was staying there because it was the kids with the cars, the 10th and 11th and 12th graders. So that's one of the issues I knew. And of course, thank you for the band, because I know the band parents were concerned about losing their parking lot that we had. So it was a good sized one. Okay, thank you.
And we're working with the band director at the campus to make sure that whatever we provide, that will serve them as well as they have now. And again, we're showing the possibility of relocating the softball field and the tennis courts, again, with concession and lockers and some parking. This is the Liberty Elementary site, just as a possibility. But again, the district has many options on this, and we will continue to work on that throughout the summer.
Let's take a look at the floor plan. And what's exciting about this plan is during the design charrette, the group feels strongly about the same idea of creating this learning hub, similar to what you saw earlier in Marcus' plan. But the real difference is the approach. Instead of taking this entire hallway and creating this learning hub, the idea is, what if once you enter the building, the first thing you see, the first thing you experience is this element, this nerve center. The heart of the building happens right at the front of the building. And so as you enter the building, you have administration in the front to welcome and greet visitors. But as you enter through the secure vestibule, you are right there at this learning hub. And what's also important is see the connection back to the existing high school. This is the existing main hallway. So we want to establish this clear sense of hallway that will lead you to this learning hub right in the center. And this main learning street would lead you to art classrooms, as well as the learning studios, the 2-story classrooms, as well as the science labs and classrooms on the other side of the building. And similar to the Marcus plan, you see the use of outdoor learning spaces, extending learning towards to really bring the outdoor into the interior space is very important. Natural light, again, is critical for all the learning environment.
And in this case, yeah, the Performing Arts Edition joins right at this corner of the building, right next to the existing auditorium. So we'll be doing that. And also expanding the lobby area outside. There's that small courtyard outside of the lobby of the auditorium, so maximizing that space for performance for both athletics and fine arts. And then the second floor is, again, the classroom areas, science labs, as well as a large group instruction room and some quiet reading stack areas for the library, and then the gymnasium.
Yeah, just take you through the floor plan very quickly. As I mentioned, that this will be a secure vestibule. So as a visitor coming to the building, you have to check in at the front of the desk before entering into the rest of the building. And again, near the front of the building will be the administration with principal's office, attendance, and registrar and clinic. So once you enter the building, you have a kitchen on one side, and this hallway here will lead you to additional classrooms and art classrooms with views overlooking the outdoor space. And this main learning street, again, will take you to the 2-story classrooms. And as Irene mentioned, each learning studio will have its own administration, AP, counselors near the front of the building here, near the front of the learning studio, with the collaboration space here overlooking the outdoor. And across from it, again, we'll have the science classrooms and labs on both floors.
One of the things that's important to mention is we put the science labs at this side. Since science labs have quite a bit of cabinetry, so the windows from those rooms are going to be up high. So they're going to allow natural light, but there's not going to be any visuals from the building into the neighbors. So the windows from these spaces will not be able to look into the neighbors' yards, because we will provide them high windows for the natural light. And again, the second floor, as I mentioned, expansion of the media center and a lecture hall, much like we showed at Marcus. And then the gymnasium being the same configuration that we showed.
Okay, take a look at the exterior of the building. This is a bird's eye perspective looking at the existing building And here will be the new ninth grade center. This is the main entrance facing the drop-off. And as you see that strong rotunda, the element, really we want to express that and make this a really unique building. And there's some existing, existing main entrance. You see this sort of curved drop-off element as the main feature of the existing building. We want to reflect, we want to sort of borrow the element and capture that and actually create a new entrance for our ninth grade center. So as you see that from the building, you see the colonnade and then that curved element that really establish a very strong sense of presence for the new ninth grade center.
Just in closing, we greatly appreciate your comments and your input, and we've taken notes to make sure that we can come back and address this more specifically. But it's our goal to continue to work. We've been going to the campuses and meeting with the principals and their staff and getting their input on this. We plan to be back to you in August with design development, at which time hopefully we'll have some more detailed answers in some of these issues as surveys are completed and traffic studies are completed. And then we'll continue with construction documents. We'll be back to you in January with proposals, and so that we can start construction early in the spring. So.
I don't have a question, Greg. Those buildings look beautiful, and it looks like you've done a great job of listening. So
Yes.
thanks for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited for them, and I wish my grandson was here to see it, because he would just eat this up.
Like I said, we had a lot of input from the students. We have geometry classes join us, and it was a very nice interactive process.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. We all want the best possible learning conditions for our children and the best possible learning environment. And you have quite a large range of designs, materials, just a number of things that the cost can go up or down depending upon what you choose as part of this process. What are you doing to provide the best use of our resources in coupling with providing that learning environment for our children?
Thank you for your question. We are being very careful with the budget and making sure that we are able to give you a building that is going to be not only low in initial costs, but low and long-term costs. So that we're looking at masonry exterior, which is very easy, giving you buildings and materials that on the exterior will have very little maintenance, no painting, no materials that disintegrate or deteriorate over time. So masonry exterior. In the case of the circular space, I hope you notice that it's segmented. It is not circular because construction materials are not round. So we're making sure that we're, again, watching, and even though we're giving you an environment that might look a little different, that we're still watching what we do. And every decision we make, we vet with the district to make sure that, again, we're giving you materials that are going to last for a long time and that are going to be low in initial cost and low in long-term costs as well.
And just one more clarification, as I was not on the board when the bond proposal passed, which was providing for the future of these facilities, but it was the original plan to have them off-site, correct? Where students would be transported? Is that correct? Yes. So just another point of clarification to remind the public that we will not have that expense in transporting students. So it's exciting to see that these facilities that we are able to put them on, or for me anyway, it's exciting that we can get them on the main campus like we were able to do at Hebron and not have to bus students, which does add up. So that is another future cost savings I think we should all be very proud of.
I also think that construction is still down a little bit, I hope.
It's coming back up.
Hurry. Anything else, board members? Hearing none?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Next, we have our strategic design update by Dr. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last month, you heard about our strategic design initiative from our strategic design team and Dr. Riddell. This month, we're carrying it a step further. You still have attached for your consideration and review the actual strategic design implementation timeline. On the second page of your document is an explanation about some of the next steps we're taking in preparation to move forward as you consider the final adoption in June. One of those that we're very excited about is the complete redesigned positions that are now called Learning Assessments Facilitators, Learning Technologists, and Design Coaches. And even as we speak, these position title changes are changing to meet the vision that we're about to undertake. So as a part of that, we have sent out a notice to everyone in our district, as well as across the Metroplex, looking for talented, innovative, creative learners to be a part of our strategic design. And as further into the document, I'm not going to read all of it, but it sets out the process that we're going to use to choose or select our next group of creators and innovators for the district. At the very end, we will be selecting a group of teachers as the next part of the implementation of the strategic design.
Okay. Next, application to participate in the Texas High Performance Schools Consortium. Dr. Haynes, or is Dr. Waddell? Okay. Well, that's why I said, Dr. Waddell, you're going to do that one. That sounds like you.
I'm going to let Dr. Ruff have that.
Madam President,
Okay.
board members, and Dr. Waddell, the Commissioner of Education has recently approved rules for the Texas High Performance Schools Consortium, and this is the work that comes out of the visioning work that Dr. Waddell worked in for several years. And so as a result of this, we now have the opportunity to apply to become one of the districts who participates in this consortium. In order to do that, we would need to create an application. The application requires that we address 4 areas: digital learning, learning standards, multiple assessments, which would mean a variety of ways to assess our students, and then local control, which means input from our community, our parents. And so we are looking over this application at this time. We are prepared to visit with our principals tomorrow morning and learning leaders meeting to talk with them about the process, about what would be required. We also have an opportunity to request some waivers. We don't promise that we'll get them, but we are promised that we may request them. So it gives us an opportunity to take our strategic design not just to Lewisville ISD, but to participate for the state of Texas and to influence a larger audience with 19 other school districts that would be selected as well.
Didn't I see that the application process is very quick, has to be done before June?
Our plan is to submit on June 14th, if you agree.
If I can comment a little bit, of course, you all are very aware of this. We've been talking about it now for about a year and a half. Excuse me. And we've been waiting for the commissioner's rules to come out, and they're kind of late. They should have been out in March. You know, there was an earlier version we weren't entirely happy with when we saw it come out, but the final rules are, I think, basically we're fine with them. A problem is a short time frame. Of course, when this came out as a rule, there was going to be a fairly short time frame anyway. I mean, to consider applying for this, I don't think you wake up on May 15th to go, oh, I think I'll apply for that. I think those that are going to do it have probably been looking at this for a while. I think nobody has known what the rules are going to look like, but we knew the basic elements that were going to be in this. I've shared this a number of times. We've had conversations about this and whether, and I've told you over the course of the period of time that I've been here, And really going back to when I interviewed for this post, and we talked about it then. I had mixed feelings about whether the district should apply for this, whether it be ready. But a lot's gone on in this last year, over a year. I think what the most significant thing that's gone on is the strategic design process. And I think in terms of should we apply for this or not, I think the thing that answers the loudest is the participation of the community. They just seem to really seize upon that. And that probably made me feel more comfortable about whether or not we should do this than anything else. Last week I was at McAuliffe for a coffee talk, and there were a lot of parents there from several schools around there. And I brought this up, and I was pretty frank about it and the issues around it. And I told them some of my concerns and what they've been. Of course, I'm a strong proponent of this. Obviously, I personally worked very hard on this for about 6 years. And by the way, I'll point at Leonard Merrill back there in the audience, and he was involved in this when he was superintendent. He was still superintendent at Katy at the time we got started. He was part of that Visioning Institute, the original group. But I was talking about this with the parents, and one mother raised her hand. She said, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to be a part of this. It was pretty strong stuff, and actually, I've talked about 1557 almost everywhere I've gone when I've met with community members. So I guess it comes down to the rules have been published, the application has been sent out, the time frame's been established, and it's now put up or shut up on 1557. I need to emphasize that, and we have a lot of work to do. We've been almost in a furious stage here since this application came out. We got to read what it actually said is, okay, are we going to do it? And if we do, how will we do it? And we don't have a lot of time to work on that. We've got to get something in, and we spent a lot of time thinking about it, brainstorming on it today. We don't have an absolute answer on that, I have to tell you that. And you won't have to decide finally on this until the next month. But we've got to get this out and start working on it if we're going to send an application. But we thought it would be important to talk to the principals tomorrow about this and get some input from them on the best way to approach this. There's some options. We would be one of the largest districts who would be making an application. And the rules say 20 school districts, or for larger districts, it was contemplated there could be a part of the district. So an option for us is a part of our district would participate in this. We could also do the entire district. The scale of that's pretty large. But a thing to be keeping in mind as we consider this is that the main thrust of what we're doing is strategic design, and that's for the whole district. And we'll be continuing forward. There's no pause here as far as implementing that if the board approves that, which I hope that you will. So everybody in the district will be working on that. And there's so much alignment and symmetry with the strategic design and 1557. If you think of it in a way, I guess we use a football analogy, the 1557 might be like that wedge on the kickoff, even though that's now illegal to have. But, the wedge point to kind of open the way to the implementation of the strategic design for the whole district. So we don't want to send a mixed message about what we're doing with strategic design. That is the core. But this is a way to get it done. And also, it'll be in a... No, it is. Thank you. It is not. It's definitely not. They go together, and everybody will keep on that work. It's just that the campuses, if we choose to not do it as a whole district that'll participate in it, will be in some pretty intensive work, both in terms of what they're doing here in the district with the other consortium members, the other 19 districts, and with the state. And we'll be playing a role not just in terms of what we do here, but also in terms of designing a new accountability system for the state of Texas. That's the ultimate goal for this. But I think it can hold tremendous benefits for our district in terms of implementing strategic design. So, but I just wanted to cover these things with you all. It's probably, for all of us, will be one of the shortest and yet most meaningful things that we'll ever get involved in. And tomorrow we're going to ask the principals to give us feedback on what they think would be the best way to proceed in terms of should it be district-wide? I'm just throwing some things out. Should it be by zone? Should it be certain campuses across the district? And we want to get their feedback on that. Ultimately, they're the ones that are going to be implementing it. And anyway, but you see here what was handed out to you was the 7 goals from the strategic design, and Linda and Penny and Beth and others have been working on this to see, okay, on the request for application, how did it line up with the goals? And that's pretty remarkable, really, when you look at that, the number of places that it fits. Notice that on the application, what the commissioner pointed out of the 6 articles in creating a new vision for public education in Texas, he chose 4 of those. So those at the top of those columns are 4 of the 6 articles from the Visioning Institute's work. So we are moving down the road, and both at the state level as well as locally. But it's going to, so we're happy to answer any questions. We do at this time, but we do need to keep, if we're going to, unless you tell us otherwise, we need to get working and prepare ourselves to get that application in on time.
Dr. Waddell, I would like to say that I have full confidence in you and in your cabinet and in the leadership and the teachers of this district. And there is no doubt in my mind that LISD can be the district that leads the way for the rest of Texas, followed by the rest of the country. Let's go.
Well, that's what Ms. Latham has been saying from the day one when she interviewed. Let's go, and you better not lead us down the wrong path, remember? But I'd like to say I'm very excited about the Visioning Institute. And if you go to my website, vernellgregg.com, you will see creating a new vision for Texas public schools on my site. Before I even met Dr. Waddell or knew anything about him, I had read that document because Dr. Roy, our previous superintendent, was on that committee. And when he showed me that document, I read it cover to cover. I said, this is the direction that education needs to go. I have studied school reform since the early 80s, when President Reagan wanted to abolish the Department of Education. This is how long I've been looking at what they have been doing to education. And I said, until they let educators say what is going to happen, we're in trouble. So when I read that document, the night that these, Ms. Latham, Ms. Fouty, Mr. Knapp were elected, I got that document and I said, put it in their hands. Ms. Latham wasn't there. I said, make sure she gets one. This is the direction that we should be heading. And here we are. So 1557, I had no idea that it was going to come this quickly, nor did I know that I would be a part of hiring a forward-thinking superintendent who is going to take you on there. And although I will not be here to kind of see it implemented and all, hey, I'm still in the community, so I'll be watching because this is exciting. So I'm depending on this board, hopefully, to get them up, move them up, and let's go. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Fouty.
I was just going to say one of the highlights of being a board member, especially when you don't have a career that's from 8 to 5, I get to go to coffee talks and listen to Dr. Waddell talk to people all around the district. So I've been to coffee talks in every zone, and this year especially he's focused on not only where we're going with strategic design, but the opportunity from 1557. And he gives little bits to parents and community members in the room about what's possible if our district were to be accepted. And the eyes in the room just perk up. People are so hungry for this. So I guess my only comment is, pending on your discussion with the principals tomorrow, I could see if you did select a portion of the district, from what I've seen in the community when you've been talking with groups, they would all love to have this. So you might have a little dispute or competition on your hands for who gets to participate. But my point is, there's a lot of eagerness in the community. They're hungry for this, and it would be a great opportunity if we were accepted.
I certainly appreciate hearing all y'all's comments and your strong endorsement. It's obviously a big deal to me. I would like to say, Ms. Gregg, that all superintendents put on their tombstones, "You better not lead me down the wrong path." We all have to have that on there. But I appreciate the leadership this board's shown and the support. Ms. Fowdy, I agree with what you just said. It's something that we talked about today. Wow, everywhere we've gone, it seems like people really are responsive to this. And Ms. Latham, in terms of your comments, I may be a little biased, but there's a lot of great districts out there, and they're doing great things. I don't know of another district that has involved the community to the extent that this district has in looking at this issue and asked and gotten the kind of response and endorsement that we have. So I think that's our greatest strength right now. And we have a talented staff and people who really want to do things and are able to. So I agree with you all wholeheartedly. And once again, I'm very pleased with your position.
Quick question. Do we know any other districts in this area that at this late in the game may be jumping on as well?
Oh, yeah.
I bet the consortium.
If not all 9 districts in the consortium, most of them are. I know for a fact that I just the last couple of days, been talking to Dr. Turner at Capel and Dr. Orr at Highland Park, and they're currently working on their applications. So I'm pretty sure several of the others are. I'm not sure all 9 are, but I know Northwest is doing it too. I've talked to Dr. Rue. So they're all in the process of pulling applications together. In fact, we have talked about collaborating on that. Though I don't think that, I'm positive, not all 9 districts in the consortium will get in. I don't think that's possible. You can't concentrate that much in one area of the state. What we have in our favor, I think the strategic design, we also have our diversity. That's very much in our favor. And, I think for the state to see how effective this is, they need to show that they have a diverse representation in the 20 districts, and we can offer that. We're about as diverse as anybody. I think so, yeah.
That was what I first thought when the comments first came out from the state that they would want only exemplary districts. And I said that would not be fair. If you want a true validity as to what your students can do, you would need demographics across the board, low socioeconomics, and just a full diversity. So I would think that some of these districts should be eliminated almost because of the lack of diversity, unless they could have 2 different things going on. But our district certainly has something that I think we could develop a model, not only for the state, but for the nation.
We'll be back.
I won't be here, but okay. Next item. Action item, consider proposed deletion of board policy EIAB, local grading progress reports to parents makeup work. Dr. Haynes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the third and final consideration of the board. This policy is being recommended to be deleted by our TASB consultant, and the substance of this policy will be found in the student handbooks from this point forward. or for the 2012-13 school year.
Just before we go into closed session. Do it before consent. Okay, that's good. Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
I move that we
I
accept
need a
this.
motion first.
Yeah, I move
okay?
that we accept the administration's recommendation as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Fowdy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? It is unanimous. Next item, consider cancellation of the July 2012 board meeting. Dr. Waddell. I need a motion first.
I move that we cancel the July 12th board meeting.
It's been moved by Ms. Latham, seconded by Mr. Knapp. Any discussion?
I have a tremendous objection to this. I think you guys ought to meet.
Even though you
To
want
go
to
till like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Since we won't have him doing Roberts on us anymore, I want to rule him out of order.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
My remarks withdrawn then, Ms. Gregg.
No more discussion?
Yes, Dr. Wood, just for clarification purposes, can you tell everybody why we do this?
It's been, I could probably use a little historical help from some of the more tenured people here, but we've been doing this in the district for some time now, and we'll have our work done regarding the budget workshop by then. We adopt the budget later in the month, and it's just something that we can do. It helps our staff, and we're able to conduct our business without having to have that meeting. We may have budget workshops or workshops later in the month, so it's just something that works out well for people in the summertime, and it doesn't hinder us in terms of our business. It's a slow time it's probably our slowest time of the year, and it's a tradition of the district.
Okay. Are we ready to vote? All in favor? It is unanimous. The chair is going to take a point of personal privilege before we do the consent agenda, to recognize Mr. Ferguson, who is leaving the board, stepping down. So if you will step over, I have a plaque for you. Okay. Well, I know that I thought about it and I said, we're losing 15 years of service tonight. But we have thoroughly enjoyed trying to keep us in line. And here's a token of our appreciation. And we wanted to wish you well as you continue your doctorate. And I hope you don't beat me out, because you started a few years after I did. But LISD, Independent School District, committed to excellence, presented to Tom Ferguson, LISD Board of Trustees, for the years 2003 to 2012 in appreciation for leadership and service in promoting excellence for the students of LISD. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I want to take another personal privilege. Since this is my last meeting, all your parliamentary procedures going out the window. I know Robert's Rules of Order, but I'd like for you to take your privilege now.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. It's been an honor to serve this district for 9 years, to work with Dr. Roy and with Dr. Waddell. I think you can see we're very proud of the new leader we brought in and look forward to seeing what he's going to do. It's been an honor to work with my fellow board members, past colleagues like Ms. Duke and Ms. Fulton, who I see are here. And it's been great to work with all the administrators and staff and the teachers. But most of all, it's great community. You know, you deserve the schools that the community deserves. Does that make sense? We have great schools because of a great community. That's what I was trying to say. And it's great to be part of this. I just purchased 2 cemetery plots last week, which gives you a sense of your mortality. And it brought to mind the saying, the graveyards are full of people who thought they were indispensable. No one's indispensable. I know everyone says they're going to miss me. Yeah, but, people are valuable, but not indispensable. I hope I've played some part of value here in the story of LASD. And I look forward to great things. It's great to hear, what's going on. I'm thinking this, you could have the principals in and play some poker on this poker table here and see we could solve the funding problem and figure out who's going to be in that 1557 deal all at once. So thank you all for the opportunity to serve you. It's a great privilege.
And I'd just like to thank you, everyone. I started my pampering earlier today and didn't get a chance to put a thank you letter on my website. However, it will be up tomorrow. So I'm not going to say anything else, but thank you, and don't have a pity party. Although I will not be on the board, I will still be working in the community. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been an honor and a privilege working with the community, everyone involved. So thank you very much. Okay.
Forgot to say one thing, Ms. Gregg. I will continue to pray for you. That God will bless you with his wisdom and his favor.
Thank you. He's ordered my steps this far, and that's what I said. He will continue. And I've told the board, I'm proud of what I've done, and I want you to continue going in the right direction. I'll be back, not on the board, but I know where you live.
She's probably going to become our newest frequent caller and emailer.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg, for everything that you've done, from teaching kids to teaching my little sister. There is absolutely no doubt that your heart and soul and every fiber in your little bitty body is extremely passionate about educating kids and taking education to the next level. So that's a gift. That is, not everybody can be that kind of teacher, and I think you have been that to many, many, many students, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. I don't know anybody in this community who has given more of their time and their love and their devotion to helping students, not only individually, but with programs and staying involved in school. And I'd like to share one personal thing. When I was at Lewisville High School, we had a young man who was always in trouble, and he came from a low-income family, and his father was in prison. His mother was put into prison. The 4 children were put out on the streets, and they ended up with their 84-year-old grandmother who was living on subsistence and having trouble, and she couldn't take care of them. Mr. Gregg would go over there 2, 3, 5, 7 times a week, taking food, tutoring these children, doing what she could to make sure that they got what they needed because the grandmother couldn't provide it. Today, 2 of those young ladies have graduated from college. One has a cosmetology degree, and I'm sad to say that the one young man is in prison. But 3 out of 4 isn't bad at all, and I think Ms. Gregg just did a wonderful job there, and she's done it. She has been touching people's lives for the last 40 years, and I want to say personally thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to jump in there. I've been a superintendent for 17 years, and it's just been a tremendous pleasure and an honor for me to work with both of you. Mr. Ferguson is one of those, he's a statesman, and one of those people, his sense of humility, and he's only in it for the kids, his wisdom, his sense of humor, the way he would bring us around at times when we needed it, not always with Robert's Rules of Order either. Everybody respects you, sir, and both of you are 2 of the best board members I've ever had the chance to work with. You're undoubtedly, as Ms. Latham said, in it for the kids. Ms. Gregg, is a gracious, genteel woman and is a champion for the underprivileged. And yet she's a great consensus builder and works to pull people together, get direction. She's done a wonderful job this year as board president. And I was visiting with her earlier today, and I was listening to the grace in which she's handled this situation in a way that probably most people couldn't. And I said that to her, and she says, she tries to conduct herself that way when she wins and when she loses. And I think that's a tremendous thing. So it's been a great honor to get to work with both of you, and I'll miss you a great deal, but I appreciate your support for my superintendency and for the things that we've been trying to do, and I'll always admire you and value you for that.
Thank you. Well, I guess we'd better get back to business. Consent agenda. Is there anything we need to pull?
I don't necessarily want to pull, but I guess I have to because Tom's still here, and he's going to make us follow the rules. I have a comment, so I'm going to... You can't hit me with the plaque. That is against all the other rules. Item A. G.
Is that 2A?
Oh, sorry, yes, 2A. Sorry, 2A, 2G. Yes, light green. H2H3. Because Mike's going to pull the other one, I think.
Yes, I'd like to pull item H6 and I-19.
I'd be recognized for a motion, then Ms. Gregg. I'd like to make one more motion.
Okay.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented by the administration, with the exceptions of items 2A, 2G, 2H3 and 6, and item I-19.
And did you say 19? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Been moved by Mr. Ferguson. One last motion, and seconded by Ms. Latham. Any discussion? Here we go. All in favor? Okay. There we go. Let's number 2A.
So I move if we approve the item 2A as presented, Ms. Gregg.
I'll second.
I know.
Yeah, now
But
we're going to
we're-
go back through them.
So we get the motion on the table, we discuss it. So-
Yeah. So I second.
Okay. Yeah, for your discussion.
Now I can have. We can discuss it. Right.
We go to Robert's Rules one more time.
I did. So it really is just a comment that I thought a couple of meetings ago we had decided and agreed that the approval of the financial reports would not be concluded in the consent agenda items. You don't remember that? I thought we had that discussion. Dr.
We had moved the new construction and bond report to the discussion items. We had not done that with the financial reports. We certainly can if it's the pleasure of the board.
I would like to suggest that so that it draws more attention and people pay attention, that I think they get to the consent agenda and kind of push over it.
Certainly at the board's pleasure, we'll be happy to make that change.
Next item, entertain a motion for 2G.
So moved.
I'll second. There was this item deals with environmental testing, abatement, and removal of contaminated materials. And in looking through the cost for this, I'm trying to get to the page. There was quite a difference between the expense from the previous year to the current year, and I just wanted a little more explanation as to the reason for that cost. I believe it was over $100,000 difference.
This is really, this is several parts. We have the part that we're asking for approval is a part of LHS that we need to abate as soon as possible, and that's the part we're asking for immediate action on. We will also be coming back with additional requests for action on the abatement in the rest of the part of LHS that's to be torn down. And Michael and or Craig, y'all want to say anything more about this?
So this is only approving the $150,000.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. So then they're going to come back for an additional $500,000?
That's about right, yes, ma'am. What we've got is, we've got two parts to this. We've got the company that actually does the abatement, and then we've got the company that does the testing. And they have to be different companies.
Okay, and I see where they have the environmental testing and abatement broke out for 2010-11, but there wasn't an estimated breakout for 12-13. So that will be on the next request that you bring to us. Right now, we just need $150,000 to get us going.
Right. We've broken it out because we had it expensed out that way, and in the codes, we haven't broken it out that way yet because of the bids to come.
Okay, but then the $150,000 would be deducted from
Do you have the breakdown on that, Mr. Perry? What's the testing and what's the actual abatement?
Dr. Burnett, I do not have the exact breakdown on that, but just to clarify, the $150,000, Ms. Latham, as you're familiar with LHS, that's just the abatement of a few small pieces, specifically the 1988 editions. And then we're actually, Mr. Martin could probably talk a little bit more about it, we're actually going out for bid and rebidding the balance of that work.
Okay. That answers my question. We can vote, Ms. Gray.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor? It's unanimous. Next. Is that 3? What is 2H3?
Madam Chairman, I move we approve item 2H3 as presented by the administration.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Speak to your motion.
It's fine, yeah. The question that I had, this is on school pictures for elementary. And the backup that we were given led me to believe, but didn't specifically say, that this is basically a wash. Are we spending money on school pictures, or is it a wash? The parents buy them, and it's a complete wash.
Let me ask Mr. Martin to address that, please.
Yes, Ms. Latham, members of the board. That's just a wash. It's basically parents paying for the pictures.
Okay. That's what it wasn't.
This is actually a fundraiser for the elementary school.
Okay, and it wasn't spelled out, so I wanted to double check that. Okay, that's all.
We do this as really a service for the campuses.
Okay.
Okay. We ready to vote? All in favor? It is unanimous. Next, I think that's Mr. McDaniels. 2H6.
I move that we approve item 2H6 as recommended by the administration.
It's been moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Mr. Knapp. Mr. McDaniel, that's yours.
Yes, this is a regular maintenance issue for all campuses, and it's something that we do on a regular basis. My question comes that it down in the middle of the sheet that we've received says anticipated project cost $754,000, construction cost $715,000. If this is a regular maintenance issue, and why are we having an architect fee of $39,330 to do a regular maintenance issue?
Mr. McDaniel, this is a CSP bid, full construction project where there is going to be engineering specifications having to be met by the vendors. Once we have that, we have to have an engineer seal. Once the base is put down, then that's where we had to go with an engineer and hire architect.
So, to and they use the spec sheets from the company that they're purchasing this for most of their engineering. It just seems like an astronomical amount to say, well, there's no architectural drawings. You've got an engineer stamp, and all the information is provided by the provider of the track surfaces. I don't understand the cost.
Well, the cost is that the architect designs the track, designs the specifications for the product, oversees the process from start to finish, evaluates, comes and monitors the companies, and then again signs off at the end of the process.
Okay, maybe I can ask this a little different because I think I had the same question. The track is already there, so there's no need to design. We're going to resurface.
They are going to take up part of the track and put down the new base.
Okay, but it's still going to be an oval track that goes around the football field.
It's the track and it's the end zones on all three of the tracks. Mr. Williams might be able to talk a little bit more about that from a
okay, maybe we can state this another way. Can we maybe reduce those architect expenses some, because that does seem exorbitant, because it's not a new design, it's nothing out of the box, it's not creative, it's an oval circle around the football field with track places at each end zone. That does seem excessive.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have that flexibility?
We can do that moving forward, yes, ma'am. But we did hire PBK to work on our maintenance and bond projects, and this is a construction project that we hired them back in January for that.
So we don't have that flexibility.
Even though under our policies and under statutes, when we exceed a certain amount, we've got to get either engineers or architects involved in the project as a public work progress. You're right, it is an annual maintenance thing, but just like we would if we had HVAC systems that we were replacing, or if we had roofs that we were replacing on a periodic basis, we would still have to look at engineering services and our architecture services to do the work. So even though the companies will assist, we still have to have, as we go to bid, we have to have the services to design what it is we're asking them to bid on.
And that brings another question that I wanted to ask also. Before, we used to get the spreadsheets when you would send things out to bid so that we could see what the bids were that were coming back.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
we get those again?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
I feel it's excessive. I can't make those numbers work. I'm going to vote against it.
What's the fee based on? There's a percentage there, and so
it's 5.5% of the project. The total project cost, it's 5.5%.
Right. And it's a requirement that we get these services to do this, because it's not just resurfacing, we're taking the whole thing down.
We're doing base work as well. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you. Ready to vote? All in favor? Miss Latham, Mr. Ferguson, Ms. Fouty, Mrs. Gregg, Mrs. Collier, Mr. Knapp. All opposed? Mr. McDaniel. The motion carries. Next.
Oh, there's one more.
One
Madam
more.
Chairman, I move that we approve item 2I-19 as submitted by the administration.
Been moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Mrs. Latham. Discussion. Speak to your motion, Mr. McDaniel.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'd just like some clarification. These lines were put in an easement, and I would think that we would be a part of that easement. So the moving of those lines, I would think, would be picked up by the city as opposed to us. And I'm sure I'm wrong, but tell me how I'm wrong.
Yes, sir. Mr. McDaniel, they are widening the road in the colony, and our lines have been underground fiber. Now they're going to be above surface on utility poles, so it will be a whole different fiber that will be installed.
So why is that our expense?
Because where the road's going to be is where the fiber is
But it's
underground.
in an easement, right?
Yes, but
So
it's
why
our,
is
it's
it-
our, we own the fiber, the current fiber that's underground now.
What if we don't move it?
They'll just put a road over it.
What's the problem with that?
David, you might want to talk a little bit about this? Sure. You're getting technical.
Better to be underground than hanging up on.
Good evening. When the road is widened, they will actually tear up the current buried fiber, and we'll lose that connectivity in between all of our schools in that colony area into our Boland data center through Indian Creek.
But weren't you talking about leasing lines for that area, like we do in the rest of the district?
Yes, we have looked at that as a option, hoping that the times had changed and that the telecom rules would make that feasible now. And we checked that, and the cost for it was still very high, so it isn't practical.
What are the opportunities, Craig, for TxDOT or whoever's widening that road to share expenses with us on moving those fiber lines? Because we're a school district, funds are tight. We're poor. Well, you can make up a story to tell them. I don't care.
I don't have a story. I'm sorry. This was something that we were contacted, myself, was about 3 weeks ago about getting this line and then moving it. We've been told by TxDOT that if we don't move this line within the next couple of months, they're going to start the project with or without us. So
I think it's similar to Flower Mound making us bury, and now the colony's making us raise them.
Well,
and we have to pay them one way or another. They're not giving the school districts any kind of leniency anymore, what they might have a few years ago, because
Well,
they're.
in Flower Mound, they had given the developer a variance the year before, so that was a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
They made us pick up the tab for what they gave somebody else a free pass on.
But being probably another public entity, they're not planning on being nice to us. So.
What we need is approval to get our fiber moved so we don't lose connectivity. We could get back with TxDOT and see if there's anything they would do, but and personally, I'd rather own our own fiber than lease it, because you're at the mercy of the people who have it. And I've experienced situations, I think we've had them here, where all of a sudden we start having problems if it's a cable company or a telephone company where we lose priority or they go up on their price, and we have no power. I wish we owned all of our fiber, but I hear your question as far as TxDOT and them working with us a little bit. But what we need to know, bottom line, is we know our wide area network will be intact, and if they won't work with us at all, we can see if they will. But we have to know that we can keep our network going.
Hearing no other comments? All in favor? That is unanimous. Okay. Before we go into closed session, we will reconvene after a closed session. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code, Section 551, 071, 072, 074, 082, to conduct a Level 3
Oh, Ms.
student
Gregg, I have good news for you.
What? They
There was-
canceled?
There was a typo. We
What?
can adjourn.
Oh, we're not having that. No?
Is that what y'all are saying over here? Y'all are all having.
Do we have the
looking at this?
expulsion hearing?
Oh,
Are they here?
Nope, they are here.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were over here
Stop giving
saying
us
no.
Okay.
I know. Rangers, they make us.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming, and we'll take a few minutes break, and then we'll reconvene into closed session. Okay. Okay. We're reconvening at 9:56. Okay. Chair entertains a motion for
Closed session. Madam Chairman, I move that we uphold the administration's decision at level 2.
I second that.
It's been
Motion.
moved and seconded. Moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Fowdy.
I'll speak to the motion briefly. I believe
Okay.
that, this is a very serious offense, it's a felony, and, we wish we could dispense mercy all the time, but, we really need to set an example in cases like this. And we wish the student well and hope the best for him. I believe we should uphold this decision.
Okay.
That's the last thing I'll ever say to board meeting.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. We're ready to vote. All in favor? It is unanimous.
Point of order, you
What?
need to make sure.
Oh,
Ms.
I'm
Latham
sorry.
is excused.
Ms. Latham is not voting. She recused herself. So it's unanimous of the 6 voting. The meeting is adjourned at 9:57. Thank you very much. I'm out of here.